Hey, Steve Gamache here with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. This time we're looking at kind of a sleeper knife. This is pretty cool. This is the Tojiro Shirogami number 2 Hairline Gyuto 185 millimeter. The word hairline is a lot of times used in this case to represent a horizontal or brush finish, which this has. The construction of this is 3 layers, so the harder center core steel, the cutting steel, is Shirogami or white paper number 2 reactive high carbon steel. Heat treats in the 61-ish range. The construction is soft iron reactive cladding on either side of that harder core steel. So the entire blade is reactive cladding and core. The weight and dimensions might vary a little bit on these from knife to knife. This one's about 111 grams, or 3.9 ounces. Edge length is about 185, or right on the money, 7.3 inches. Overall length about 330 millimeters, or 13 inches. The spine thickness, they're fairly thick coming out of the handle, but it's about 3 1/4 there, but 1.6 halfway down. So look how thin that gets. Come on, camera, stick with me. And you can see the edge. You've got a taper here and a fairly high grind on this, and so that gets really skinny by the tip. So this is going to be a good performing knife. The blade is not very high. It's about 39 millimeters. The handle is D-shaped for kind of a right-hand bias. It's a hoe wood or basic lightweight wood with a resin ferrule on it. The ferrule is kind of a matte finish on it. You do have a step between the wood and that ferrule. It's kind of a sleeve that goes over. That's pretty normal for this kind. And you got some pretty big gaps there on the install you'd want to seal up to keep moisture out of there, out of that tang. The handle circumference is surprisingly kind of large for this short of a, or narrow of a blade. So it's about 75 millimeters or 3 inches right there where the wood meets the ferrule. You do have a fairly thin neck. You could definitely put a custom handle on this or a smaller handle and probably make it a little bit more kind of appropriate. But you've got nice room for a pinch grip there. The handle kind of being a little bit bigger around is a little heavier and kind of brings that balance point back there. This could definitely use kind of a smaller, lighter handle, personal opinion. But there's your balance point. They've done some nice finish work on these. You've got kind of a little bit of polish and relief on the spine. You've got some polish and relief on the choil here. It's very comfortable. I'd say average edge, maybe 5 out of 10. But decent grinds, pretty thin tip. Nice fit and finish for the dollar. You got a flattish heel, which we'll look at. Since it's pretty thin, you don't have a lot of stiffness up front, but you got a lot of pretty much stiffness in the back. Let's see. Let's take a little beauty shot of it. So you've got this, you can see the faux kind of Kasumi finish there, sandblasted finish. There's your core steel peeking out from the cladding. You've got some, I don't think this is hand chiseled, but what they do is it makes it look like it's hand chiseled. So it's a pretty cool effect. I think it's stamped in, but they put some detail in there to give you kind of a chiseled look. If I'm mistaken, forgive me, but I don't think it's hand chiseled, but it's kind of a faux effect, but pretty effective nonetheless. Here's the, let's see, left side of the blade as you'd be holding it. And again, you've got that brushed horizontal finish to it, which is nice as you use and clean the blade and wipe it down and dry it, you tend to get scratches that go in this direction, and so that tends to hide that because they go with the finish. So that's the cool part about it. Let's look at the profile on this little guy. So what we have here is a big old flat spot. It does go right into a heel. It's a pretty abrupt stop, but lots of chopping back here. You can see how flat that is. And then belly towards the front a little bit, so I'm getting up about right there, but you've got a long flat spot with this thing. Yeah, it is actually that flat towards there. So it kind of goes into a pretty hard stop, but a lot of chopping here in the back, gentle belly, a little bit of rocking motion towards the front. So they've done quite a bit with this. So this is light. It's very nimble. Under 4 ounces. So cool little knife. So this is a neat line that Mark brought in. So this is the Tojiro Shirogami Hairline Gyuto 185 millimeter knife.